In this video, I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of how to do color correction and color grading using iMovie. When you're shooting footage for your own film, as you import your footage and explore your footage, you might see that all the clips look a little bit different. Like this one's kind of yellowish, this one's a little more cool, this one's kind of orangish, this one has kind of a green tone to it, this one has a cool tone to it, this one looks a little bit more normal. And color correction means making them all match and making them all look natural, kind of like this one. So here's how you do that in iMovie. There's several ways. We'll start with this clip right here that looks kind of yellowish. And right here, this symbol that's a circle with a dark half of the circle on one side and a white half of the circle on the other side, this is called color balance. And this is the tool you want to use for color correction. Now you can just click auto, and iMovie will do the best it can to try to figure it out and make the clip look natural. It does a pretty good job, so you can start there. If you do match color, then you start with the clip that you want to change or that you want to fix. So I would select this so that it's highlighted in yellow, and then I would click match color, and then it splits the window. So I have the clip that I'm trying to fix here, and in this window, it wants me to find the clip to match. So I'm going to go and use this eyedropper tool and go to an area of a clip that has a good color balance. And then I just click right there, and then it matches the clip I selected to the clip that I was sampling. Then click the check mark, and then you've matched the color, and that's another way to correct the color. The other one is white balance. This one, you use the eyedropper tool on the image itself, and you're supposed to click in the area that's meant to be white. And so you can, in this instance, there's a white ice skating rink, so it's not very hard to find something that's supposed to be white, and you click that. Sometimes when you're getting your footage, you can have somebody hold up a piece of paper or something that would have something white on it, and then in post-production, you can click on that white piece of paper or on that white thing, and that's another way to achieve white balance. So, and again, when you're finished, click the check mark. And the last one is skin tone balance. So this works kind of the same way as the eyedropper tool, where you click on something that's white. This one, you click on something that's supposed to be skin tone, and then it tries to go from there. But obviously that leaves, there's a lot of variety with skin tone. So that's, hit or miss. You just click around and it changes the colors, but if you have predominantly skin tone, that might be an easier tool to use. And I'm going to do a quick demonstration of color correction for all of these clips. So this first one, auto worked pretty good. Here's the second one. I'll try auto. Let's just match it to the first one. So I'm going to click on match, and then I'm going to click the eyedropper tool to match it to that one. Click the checkbox, and so now these two look very similar. There's not a sudden change in the way that each of these clips feel. They run together really nicely, and they both feel natural. So now we'll move on to the next one. This one, we'll try auto. Works pretty good. Let's try white balance and see, because it still feels a little bit yellowish. Let's try match color. That feels better than the other one. Let's try to match it to this one though. I like that. That looks pretty good. Then this one feels greenish. We'll start with auto because that's the easiest. Another thing I'm noticing here, this one feels too light and this one feels too dark. I'll get to that in a second though. Let's finish with the white balance. That one looks pretty good, so we'll leave that one alone. This one, we'll try auto. That looks good. So now the white balance is consistent between all of these images. Now let's focus on something else. This one, like I mentioned, has it's kind of high key and it doesn't have a lot of contrast, or as much contrast as the other clips. This one feels really dark and like it has a lot of contrast. The rest feel about right. This one's maybe a little bit dark too. So the next tool that you'll use to do that is this thing right here that looks like an artist's palette. If you click on that, you have some other tools to correct your colors. And this tool right here, if you click the circle in the middle, that moves the whole image, makes it lean a little bit lighter if you move it to the right, and it makes it darker if you move it to the left. So that's how you control to make something lighter or darker. This one I mentioned was a little bit too light, so I'm going to move it to the left just slightly. And then this or this one, if you click on this circle or on this circle, that changes the contrast. If you move them further apart from each other, and as you move one, the other one moves opposite. So that increases the contrast. And then if you move them towards the center, then it decreases the contrast. So this is where you control your contrast. I'm going to increase the contrast just a tiny little bit. So we made it a little bit darker and we increased the contrast a little bit. These last two dots here, this is if you want to add light or subtract the highlights, add or subtract highlights. And then this one at the bottom is adding the dark tones or subtracting the dark tones. So that's what those two sliders do. This one right here is an adjustment for hue and saturation, and we'll get more to that in a minute. And this one is temperature, so you can make your image warmer or cooler. And we'll get to that in a second too. First I'm going to color correct this one by adjusting it. This one felt a little bit too dark and too much contrast, so I'm going to move the center controller to the right a little bit and lighten it up so that it matches the rest of the clips, and then we're going to decrease the contrast just a little bit. So again, the goal is to make all of your clips feel natural, like it's natural lighting and it looks the way it would appear if you were there in real life, and to try to make all your clips feel consistent. This one still feels a little cooler to me. The temperature feels a little bit too cool, so I'm going to warm it up just slightly to try to make it match all the rest of these. This one, maybe I can decrease the contrast just a little bit and lighten it up just a little bit. So there we go. So once you've finished color correction and you have all of your clips looking natural and looking similar to each other, then you're going to export that scene or the whole movie. If you're done with your whole film, you export it into its own file, and then you'll re-import it into iMovie, and that's when you'll move on to the color grading step. Okay, the footage finished exporting, and now I've brought the new footage into iMovie again. So now it's one single clip for this whole entire scene, and it's been color corrected so everything's consistent and feels natural. Now at this point, we're going to move on to the step of color grading. The goal with color grading is to come up with a unique look for your film, and we're going to apply this effect to the whole scene all at the same time. So I'm going to select this whole scene, and we're going to use some of the same tools that we were using before. I'm going to start with contrast. So let's say we wanted to make this scene low contrast and high key, and let's say we wanted to make it desaturated slightly, and we wanted to make really warm tones to the whole scene. Now it applies those effects to the whole entire scene, and as I play the scene, it has a certain look and feel to it. But let's say I wanted to give my film a different look. Maybe I wanted a higher contrast look. I wanted the film to be a little darker, and let's keep the saturation low, but let's add some cool tones. And there's other things you can do to affect the mood. Obviously the music that we would be hearing would have a powerful influence, but you can see now that I've made that simple change to the color grading, it has a completely different look and feel than it had before. Feels a lot different. And that's what color grading is. And color grading, again, you want to apply it consistently to the entire scene and to the entire film so that the film has a unique look. Now there's one other tool that you can use in iMovie for color grading, and that is the filters tool. So if you select your clip and then click on this little icon right here, here where it says clip filter, it says none. If you click where it says none, then it pulls up several preset filters. So you can explore and experiment and look through these, but there's a lot of different preset options that might work out well depending on what your original footage looks like and what kind of a look or feel you're going for in your film. So that is how you do color correction and color grading in iMovie.